Okay, Thomas, nice to see you. You had QPR obviously on Friday, big win that night. How's the squad in terms of injuries? Any new problems you've picked up in the last few days, or are you looking good?
No. Everyone of the players who's not injured are available. Henrik will be assessed, today and tomorrow to see if he can play.
And just looking at Rotherham, I mean, yes, they haven't picked up loads of points recently, but they scored a couple of goals at QPR last Wednesday, scored another couple of goals at the weekend. They are a team that could potentially cause you problems, particularly on their own patch.
Yeah, 100%. First, I'd like to praise Rotherham and Paul Warren and the leadership of Rotherham because they won the championship 2 years ago. They stick to the manager. They got promoted, and now they're doing a good job in championship. So they clearly have a good strategy, and they know what they want, and they try to build a club that I think, looking from the outside, look very well run. To play against Rotherham, I think they have some massive strength in the more direct play. The second ball game and on set pieces, and we need to deal with that. Stopping the crosses in after the second ball situation, second phase of set pieces. That's where they caused problems for Bournemouth and QPR in the latest games and in general. And on top of that, I think they are an extreme high pressing team. They're the team that win the ball back the quickest in general in the league. So we need to be aware of that. So I think we need to be absolutely on our top of our game to get 3 points.
How are you feeling about, I know you're not the only manager who has to deal with this, but how do you feel about player welfare at the moment? Do you think people understand, I mean, when you hear Premier League managers complaining about scheduling, do you think there's enough understanding of that Championship and EFL clubs in general have to play so many more games in such a short period of time? We saw another serious injury yesterday. We're seeing all sorts of other injuries as well. How is it dealing with it as a manager? How do you feel about it more generally?
It's a very tricky one because no doubt that Championship in general, I think we play a lot of matches in a normal season. This is a different season, and we know that this spell from when we started against Wickham, what's that, 10 days ago, and until the 2nd of January, we're playing 13 games in a row. So every Saturday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, and so on. And the same are so all championship clubs are doing that, or we are, because we have a quarterfinal. So we don't get the breather and to have a normal week, but we are happy for that. We are pleased that we qualified. The bigger Premier League clubs, they need to play European games, so they have the same amount of games, and also if they have that quarterfinal. In a way, it is what it is, but I think it's one of those where we need to look at the bigger perspective, and that's why I think I can't understand why Premier League don't have 5 subs, if you ask me for that, because I guess that the Premier League and the FA, they want the English clubs to do well in the European tournaments, because it's a big thing. So that must be the need to look at that bigger picture in terms of player welfare. We need to look after them. There's no players that can play 13 games, 90 minutes without being exhausted. No doubt about that. I think my players, they're capable of doing it, but is that freshness? When do you freshen up once in a while to be sure of that? Because we're fit, we're strong, we're looking forward to play many games. We really look forward to play as many games as possible. But is that touch and go in terms of the freshness?
Does it bring advantages in some ways? I mean, you've spoken about the dangers of playing that many games in a short period of time, but I guess to some managers, they might view it as being a good thing in terms of the possibility of building momentum. If you keep winning every few days, it's a good thing, right?
No, yeah, I think I think it depends how you look at it, because if you win, you want to carry on to the next one and build that momentum. If you lose, the next game is just around the corner, so you can turn it around. And I think it depends on your mindset. I think you need to look into this is what it is, and then we need to get the best out of it and find the best possible strategy to win as many football games as possible. And clubs and managers are doing that differently. We have discussed a lot with my coaching staff and my sports science and medical staff how can we do this in the best way so we perform at the highest level every single game.
Do you expect to be active in the January transfer window? It's a month away now. As you say, there are demands on everybody's squads with more games in a short period of time. Extra numbers could possibly help, especially if you've got cash in the bank.
Yeah. Honestly, I haven't thought about that. That's why, of course, everyone knows that we are very well prepared and we have a clear strategy. So it's not that we don't know what we are. How can you say? I would not say looking for January. It's just more in general that we always prepared if something should happen either way. But I'm satisfied with my squad. I think we have a good squad. So no reason to do anything big. Let's see where we are in a month in terms of injuries and so on. But right now we're happy. And if you ask me, we're not selling. So
that's okay. Don't worry. Thanks very much indeed.
You're welcome.
Hi, Thomas.
Hi, Phil.
Just referring to what you said about momentum, obviously returning from the international break, 7 points from those 3 games, maybe a slightly longer break because you played on Friday night rather than on Saturday, which will help freshen things up. But this is a period where if you can get the momentum going, you really can actually set a mark for this season, can't you, over the next month and a half or so?
No, I think this spells, you can always divide the season into 4 quarters or 2 halves or whatever, 6 games. But I think it fits nicely. It's 12 championship games from after the international break and until the 2nd of January. And there's no doubt that can we attack that spell in the best possible way, we will be in a good place. We are now unbeaten in 7 years. And very good place defensively, very very good structure, very good organization, and we need to build on that. And the players are hungry and they want to push. So we just look forward to, and we have, as you said, we have a whole 3 days from QPR to Rotherham, so we are completely fresh and we're ready to attack.
When you talk about freshness or fatigue or the pressure that the schedule puts on players, how do you keep your players mentally fresh? Because the physical side is one thing, but mentally fresh, especially, as you say, against a team who I think have scored almost 30% of their goals from set pieces, where you really do need to be switched on. Yeah.
I think we really try to do things a bit different. Try to gain the small percentages here and there. For example, today we meet in later, so people can have in the morning at home, and that just gives them a little bit more family time or a little bit time they can use. Sometimes give them a day off where you normally wouldn't give them a day off. The messages, the information flow, we try to do that differently. So we really try to be aware of that, because I agree physically. I think we are very fit. We are very strong. So it's about that freshness and that's that feeling, touch and go. Who is in a really good place that we can keep pushing, keep going. Who's maybe struggling that we maybe need to push or maybe need to rest a bit. So is that Fingerspitzgefühl, I don't know the word in English, we need to be aware of.
I'll get Google Translate working on that one, Thomas, see if we can come up with an English phrase in regards to that. You mentioned Rotherham. I think they said on Saturday, their game against Bournemouth, I think their manager, Paul Warne, said, was their most complete performance of the season so far. So whilst their points may not always tally up with how they feel they played, that maybe they're sort of believe they're hitting their stride as well, which again makes them a difficult opponent.
I mean, I think Championship is so challenging because there's so many styles of plays, and the difference between the teams are very, very little. The marginal advantage you have over certain teams, because they always have a threat or two, and I'm not talking about specific players, but maybe the way they play. So we know that Rotherham, as I said before, the high pressure, very aggressive. They're very good at that. Can only praise them for that. They're not only playing the long ball game, they also try to pass when they can, but they play relatively direct and want to pick it up. And the set pieces, those are the key areas we need to be bang on to defend. And the good news is that we have been good so far this season, but we can't drop. We actually more or less need to step up a tiny bit for this game to be around that. And then on the ball, that's where we need to show our quality. We need to show some personality, and we need to, in that high pressure, to take the ball past the man, or composed enough to keep the ball in their half in long enough spells.
And this period of time that we've been through, how much more challenging is it, therefore, to travel to an away game? You know, what are the challenges that you face that in normal times, previous times, weren't necessarily so difficult when it comes to travelling away and staying away and getting ready for an away game?
Of course, it's a little bit more restricted in terms of what we can and not can, and the players and meeting rooms and food and all that. But I think that's that's a part of it. I think is okay. I think it's more challenging that we can't do anything outside football enough for the players, so they can't see friends and family outside. I don't think it's traveling. I think that's very low on the list. If you could tell them they could see their family and friends more and actually interact more off the pitch, I think that would help even more.
Brilliant. Thank you, Thomas. See you tomorrow.
Thank you. Welcome.